Thank you for joining us today. It's great to have you here on our webinar about teamwork, accountability, and productivity, and using your CRM to increase team performance. I appreciate you joining us. I'm going to give a couple minutes, maybe just, I don't know, a minute or so for people to kind of funnel in here, and we will be getting started here shortly. It is, I gotta say, it's great to have you here, and we'll go through some of these ideas that we're gonna talk through. So, all right. Well, we'll jump in here, and as more people join us, they can kind of get caught up. And this is being recorded and will be replayed on Facebook and will be available on YouTube as well. But again, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on our webinar, Teamwork, Accountability, and Productivity: How Your CRM Can Increase Team Performance. First things first, I want to kind of touch on what we can expect today. But before I dive into that, just a couple quick housekeeping things. We will be taking questions. I will be taking questions here throughout the webinar. So if you do have questions, please use the Q&A box in your Zoom screen. That's going to be the best way to go about it. So you can use that Q&A box, and you'll be able to ask questions, and we'll be sure to answer them as we're able to. And if we don't get to your question specifically, I'll make sure to follow up with you as well. So now what we can expect today here. So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about why teamwork matters and how it can help you develop the performance that you need to make an impact on your team. We're also going to talk a little bit about how underperforming teams work and what kind of an impact, negative impact, that they have on your sales performance. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some tools that you can use inside of your CRM, potentially the CRM that you're using now, or a CRM that you may start working with in the future. Some tools that are in there that can increase your team's performance through teamwork, through accountability, and through productivity. So first things first, we're going to go through some get to know you questions. I'm going to launch a poll here, and I would appreciate if you can take a quick minute here and just let us know, first of all, how many salespeople that you have working for you. Let us know if you are responsible for leading the marketing function of your business or of the company, as well as the sales function. And then if you're using a CRM now, and if you are, what CRM you are using. We'll keep this open for for about another 30 seconds or so. I appreciate you you taking a minute here to respond. Because we are, again, I want to make sure that I can tailor this as best I can. So again, thank you so much. Looks like we've got some folks that are using a CRM. So something other than kind of the popular, the kind of, I guess, I don't know, most popular ones maybe. It looks like the marketing function is also owned by you and as well. So thank you so much. I appreciate you taking a minute to do that. So now let's dive into a little bit about let's dive into the content here of the webinar. So but first I want to kind of talk about who am I and why you should care anything about what I have to say. So I am Ian Campbell. I'm the CEO of Mission Suite. Mission Suite is a sales and marketing software platform, or CRM, email marketing, inbound marketing tools, automation, so on and so forth. But I have been working with businesses in marketing and in sales for the past 20 years now. I started out when I was too young and stupid to know that I was completely unqualified to be doing what I was doing. But fortunately, a lot of the work that I was doing ended up working out, and I was able to grow a business and saw myself through a couple recessions and whatnot, all in that sales and marketing world there. I have helped grow businesses from client one all the way up to their first $1 million year. When I did a lot of work in the startup world, and that first $1 million year was typically when I took a step back and helped them install their own marketing director or sales director, whatever they may have needed. And with Mission Suite, now I help my clients automate sales and marketing efforts because I do believe that that doing so leads to more leads, more sales, and more business, all with less effort. And and a key thing here that I'm bringing to that I typically bring to the table is that I've worked on both sides of the revenue equation, both on the sales side and on the marketing side. So I've got I've got some experience. I've got a lot of experience in both angles there. So first things first, let's start talking about why this actually matters. Why does this topic matter? This topic of teamwork, of accountability, productivity, so on. Why do we care if this is happening? Well, for a few reasons here. So first of all, when teams are working together, they're more productive, right? I mean, that's it's hard to argue against when you have 3 people, 5 people, 10 people, whatever, that are all working towards the same goal, towards this and the same movement there. Then you're going to make better decisions. You're going to have more productivity, and your results are going to go up. Teams allow natural leaders to stand out, right? I mean, as sales leaders, as marketing leaders, a lot of times we're looking for the next person to step up and take on maybe a sales management role, or maybe a director role, or so leading teams and building teams on their own. Well, teams allow those natural leaders, those people who are really good at leading others in sales, for example, naturally, they allow them to really step up and stand out, and it makes a big impact. What's more, teams can hold one another accountable, right? As again, that's big part of our job as a sales leader, as a marketing leader, a business leader. But it's also nice not to have to be the babysitter all the time, right? And if we can make if we can make sure that that people are using kind of that peer accountability, that makes things much more impactful. Um, Accountability affords the opportunity for growth, right? Affords the opportunity for personal growth. We all, our teams want to be able to, the people on our teams, we want them to be able to grow, and accountability affords that. And finally, accountability produces results, right? I mean, that's the big thing. So again, why does this matter? Because teamwork and accountability, they lead to the productive revenue team that you need to build your numbers, right? To hit your numbers. That's the whole goal here. But I'm guessing that you already know all of this, right? I'm guessing that that's the reason that you're here, because this is something that is important to you, and it's something that that you've seen the need for in maybe in your own team, because this is nothing new, right? This has been around forever. And as leaders, we're always looking out for ways to facilitate and to improve our team's ability to work together. We go to workshops, we go to corporate trainings and do the dreaded trust falls and the, whatever's kind of popular in those things these days. We use collaboration tools. We use things like Google Drive or Microsoft 365, or, cloud documents and Slack, and all these different systems that frankly oftentimes go relatively unused by a lot of the people that we're trying to lead. And of course, there are God knows how many books and articles and anything else that may be out there that people are looking at as well. So there are plenty of them, and we consume them, right? We consume this information because we want to be better at leading our team. We want to figure out better ways to help our team connect with one another and really work together. But one thing that you may be missing is actually that solution that you're probably already using every single day, and that is your CRM. Right? I mean, there's a lot that we can do with a CRM. There's a lot that we can do here that is going to make this, that's going to make the teamwork and the accountability so much more effective. And we're going to dive into that in a minute here. But first, let's kind of take a look at the problem. Let's take a look at kind of the situation as it is now. And I'm willing to bet if you have if you've been leading both the sales and the marketing function in the past, if both of those roles report to you, then you've probably heard some of this, right? You've probably heard sales complaining that marketing can't generate enough quality leads, or the leads that marketing generates are no good, or I'm not getting enough leads coming in, and that's how, you know, we're supposed to be developing business, whatever the case may be. God knows I've heard that enough, right? I've seen it. I've heard it. I've heard it pretty often. And then on the flip side of that, marketing ends up blaming sales for not being able to close deals. And, you know, they say, hey, we're getting the phone ringing, we're doing this stuff, we have the company name out there. Salesperson, you have to be able to pick up the phone and close a deal, right? We're not here to sell for you. We're here to generate demand and to create influence for our company, right? And so there's that and it's frustrating to us as leadership, because, you know, these are two people that should be moving in the same direction, but so often, you know, it feels like one person's rowing on one side of the boat, while the other person just pointing at the other one saying, hey, he's not doing enough, right? So how do we make this work? Well, let's kind of dive into this again, kind of talking about this marketing can't generate leads conversation, right? So what's the impact here? What's the negative impact? Well, your sales team ends up spending a lot of their time finding new leads and just ignores the leads that are already coming in, right? Again, speaking as a marketer, I can tell you that it's unbelievably frustrating when we do a lot of work and start generating leads, and instead of hearing, oh, well, this lead wasn't good because of this and we need more information on that, right, they just get ignored. And because, you know, why bother? I'll just pick up the phone and make some cold calls, right? It's something that happens often, and hopefully it's not happening in your organizations, but it's definitely something that I've seen more times than I care to count. What else is going on? Well, your sales team ends up wasting their time chasing down leads that aren't qualified, right? Again, there's a story that a client that I used to work with. They were a medical device company, and they had built a sales team of, I don't know, maybe 6-7 people or so, and they had a marketing team, rather, excuse me, of 2 or 3 people, and the marketing team was ecstatic because they would see these leads coming in. They'd see these forms being filled out over and over and over again. And so they're thinking, hey, we've got these great leads. We're doing amazing things. And, you know, we're really going to make this work. This is really exciting. Well, turned out that a janitor in a hospital that they were trying to sell to got a hold of this white paper that they were offering as a download, and the janitor spread the word, and so they had a whole lot of opportunities for individual people, but this product wasn't made for individuals, it was made for hospitals. And so their sales team ended up calling on these people who were filling out forms, and turns out while they needed to talk to the head of medicine or the CEO of the hospital, they ended up talking to a bunch of janitors, and that was definitely not who they needed to be talking to. And so, you know, they're wasting a lot of time because they just keep chasing down these leads that just mean nothing to them. Right? What's more, the phone's ringing, but you have no way to know how qualified the people calling in are. You don't know anything about them. And your marketing efforts, they can't be tracked against your sales results. So neither you nor your marketing team know anything about what's actually working, right? They don't know if you know, this piece of content or this white paper that we put out is actually leading to sales. And, you know, as marketers, especially in today's world, we should be able to track that. And then even worse, you have no way of knowing or no way to tell when a lead should be passed from marketing to sales. And so when a lead goes from marketing qualified to sales qualified, right? There's a certain level of activity, there's a certain engagement that we want all leads to get. But if your team isn't working together, you have no way to know when that happens. And that's a big problem. And finally, your team's closing ratio is low and it's not getting any better. And this is something that I've seen time and time again. because, you know, we want those 30, 40, 50% closing ratios from the leads that are being generated, the leads that are coming in. And, you know, we end up with a 10% closing ratio. And so we just kind of, we accept that, and we adjust our activity level to compensate, but that ends up wasting a lot of time, and it's simply not as effective. And so as a result, your business starts to decline. So the real problem here is that you don't have the insight to effectively lead this team as a whole. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you're looking at. So your team suffers because you can't effectively lead them all together. And again, if your team is just constantly pointing fingers at one another, how are you ever going to know whom you should be holding accountable? And finally, of course, the big one, you're not hitting your numbers, right? You're not hitting the numbers that you need to be hitting. You're not up there. You're not making the, you know, you're which, I mean, can lead to lack of business. It can lead to business suffering. It can lead to layoffs. It can lead to, you know, people getting fired, the whole 9 yards. Though that becomes a problem. But here's the thing, though, is that this is not just a sales and marketing problem. I'd like to pick on sales and marketing because I've been in sales and marketing for the past 20 years, and again, I know that world really well. But this happens with sales teams, production teams, service teams. It happens both as both an inter-team problem and an inter-team problem. So it happens inside of the sales teams, where Joe salesperson and Sally salesperson, you know, end up just kind of fighting one another, and they're not working together to move things forward, and it causes problems right. And then again, the inter-team dynamics of the moving from a closed deal that the sales team closed to moving it to production, moving it to support, moving to whatever your operations function is, right? Moving that deal from step 1 to step 2 becomes a problem, because now all of a sudden there's no coordination, right? And again, you end up losing deals, you end up losing opportunities, and suffering as a result. And again, every time this kind of finger pointing happens, right? Well, it was sales' fault. Well, it was operations' fault. It was marketing's fault. It was, you know, the receptionist's fault. I mean, every time that kind of finger pointing happens, the business ends up suffering, and you end up losing in the long run. And that's not what we want. So now let's dive into the meat of this, right? So how can your CRM help? How can your CRM really actually increase team performance, right? I mean, is it a pipe dream, or does it actually work? Well, me personally, I'm here to tell you that it actually does do the trick, right? That it is possible to make it work. And so, so how does it work? Well, first of all, the low hanging fruit, right? Let's talk about this. It keeps your sales team accountable for their activities day to day, right? So this is the stuff that we tend to use our CRMs for every single day of the week, right? It's the sales team, your salespeople, they need to track their activities, right? Like in my company, I make sure that I let my team know if it's not in Mission Suite, it didn't happen, right? Hey, I closed these 3 deals. Show me, right? Show it to me in the CRM. Hey, I made these 100 phone calls. Show me exactly who, right? And of course, I'm not micromanaging. I'm not tracking all these things independently, but it allows me to keep them accountable, right? And again, as the leader, I need to make sure that they can be accountable to me, and that we can trust it. We can have that kind of trust there. But further, it makes sure, you know, your CRM can make sure that only sales qualified leads are actually being sent to the sales team, right? So again, we talked about the fact that that your sales team, if the teams aren't working well together, we talked about the fact that a lot of times sales is going to end up chasing down unqualified leads, chasing down the janitor when they need to be talking to the CEO, or vice versa for that matter, right? I mean, end up talking to a CEO when they need to be talking to the head of facilities, right? I mean, whoever that kind of key person is, you know, you want to be making sure that only those sales qualified leads are actually being sent to the sales team, and your CRM can do that. It smooths the handoff from marketing to sales, and from sales to operations, and, you know, operations to support, whatever whatever that flow needs to be, right? I mean, your CRM can actually smooth out that handoff if you're using it correctly. And finally, of course, it tracks all of your efforts, right? I mean, you can be tracking all of your efforts inside of one system. The sales aspect of it, the marketing aspect of it, the operational aspect of it, the whole 9 yards. All of these things can be tracked inside of one system. So let's talk a little. So there's a few key things that I want to touch on as to how this works. So first of all, and I'm going to dive into these a little bit more in depth here moving forward, but I just want to kind of list these out really quickly. So first of all, we have activity scoring, right? Activity scoring is a big thing, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute. Demographic scoring is a second one. Conversion tracking is another way that we can do this, and automated workflows is another. And of course, like I mentioned, you can also make, having everything embedded in and working together in one system, natively integrated, becomes really, really beneficial as far as that's concerned. So let's talk a little bit about activity scoring. How can we use activity scoring to make this work for you? So first of all, let's define activity scoring. Activity scoring it's a score that's based on anything that happens with a contact, right? So every time that a contact opens an email, there's a score attached to that. Every time they click on a link in an email, there's a score attached to that. Every time that a voicemail is left, or a phone call is made, or a meeting is had, or an opportunity is created, all of that should be tracked and scored, right? Everything that happens with that contact can, and it should be tracked, and it should be scored, because that's how you know when when a lead moves from marketing qualified to sales qualified, right? So again, from each click on an email, every web page that's visited, I didn't mention that before, but every time somebody lands on a web page, you can track that. You can assign a score to that. And then, of course, anytime that your sales team makes a phone call, leaves a voicemail, so on and so forth, right? All of these things become really important, and you can see what that is, creating an overall score. So let's say maybe you want to get people to 30 points, right, before they're worth making a phone call. Well, that 30 points can be comprised of a white paper download. It can be comprised of, an inbound phone call, maybe 3 clicks on an email. Maybe they landed on the register for a demo page of your website. All those different things. But again, any time that you and your prospect engage in any way, you should have a score associated with that, right? Because that's how you can create a measurable, an objective measurement to qualify your leads, and their actual interest in you as a company, in your services, in your products, et cetera, right? So that becomes really, really important. So let's talk a little bit about the impact of activity scoring, because the activity scoring can have an impact beyond just what we've talked about. Although that is kind of the big one, it's oftentimes the one that's most often discussed. But moving further from that, you can also use that to track your team's activity levels, right? So as an example, I like to use Northwestern Mutual's kind of quote perfect day concept to illustrate this. So Northwestern Mutual has they call it the perfect day, and that's 100 phone calls, or 5 qualifying meetings, or 10 networking meetings, whatever the case may be, right? But they have things that are laid out like that, right? So you need to do these things to reach your quote perfect day. Well, you can track that, you can see this, and again, you should be able to pull reports inside of your CRM to be able to say, okay, so John over here, he's only hitting 10 points a day for whatever reason, right? And so he's either making only 10 phone calls and spending the rest of his day on a bunch of other stuff, or maybe he's making those 10 phone calls and the conversations are too long, whatever. But you can see, hey, this person's struggling, they're not hitting their numbers, and this is probably why. So let's take a look at that activity level, right? Because as we all know, activity leads to results, right? I mean, that's kind of the basics of it. So you can track that. And so maybe every phone call is worth 1 point. Every qualifying meeting is worth 10 points. Every, or maybe 20 points. And every networking meeting is worth 10 points. And, every opportunity is worth 50 points. That kind of a thing, you're able to see, so you can, like I said, you should be able to pull reports on this so that you can see exactly what your team is doing. All right. Again, the big impact of activity scoring is that sales knows how much interest leads have shown in your company, which is important. And marketing now knows if their efforts are actually making an impact, right? So this gets sales and marketing on the same page, right? They're having one conversation now. They're not, so when you go and talk to sales, you go and talk to marketing, or maybe you're bringing your revenue team in for a joint conversation, you're not having different conversations. You can say, listen, marketing for whatever reason is passing leads up when they're only at 15 points, not at our 30-point threshold. We need to shift this and figure out why that's happening, right? So, and then again, sales can, you can look at sales and say, hey, sales, you said that 30 points is the threshold that you want, but you're still not closing deals. What do we need to change here? What needs to be different? And then how do we make this work, right? So again, building that kind of team, that team perspective, and getting that team perspective from everybody who's involved in that equation becomes really important, and makes a big impact. So now let's talk a little bit about demographic scoring. So demographic scoring allows you to define the quality of your demographic data, the demographic information of your contacts. So again, going back to this this medical device client that I was working with, they needed to talk to CEOs, right? They needed to talk to the CEOs of the hospitals, or maybe it was the hospital administrator, or whatever that role was, right? That's who they needed to talk to. But they ended up with a bunch of janitors. Obviously, just adding a title field to the form that they filled out to download that white paper is a easy way to make a big impact there. But with and this is where automation kind of comes into play, is that we can actually create some automated systems so that when somebody is, when somebody has that title of CEO and they get 100 demographic points. And so, but if they're a janitor, then they get 0 points, or maybe they get points taken away, negative 50 points, whatever. Maybe you want your sales team to not have to worry about researching phone numbers, but rather just use a phone number that's already been given. Well, if a phone number is there, then it can be worth, that maybe that's worth an extra 100 points, maybe. And if it's not there, then it's, negative 20, negative 50, whatever it is, right? But you can set these types of things up, and you can build these things out. So again, when marketing is generating these leads, they're seeing the scores as well as the sales team. So nobody's really complaining about the fact that, hey, we're marketing is passing bad information up to us. We just need XYZ. All right. So again, you can assign scores to titles, geographic regions, email addresses. So for example, if you want a lower score to be given to a gmail.com address, right? Maybe if someone is not willing to give me their company address, then they're not really of value to me, right? So again, this is something that you have to decide on your own, and this is something that that we actually spend a lot of time working with our clients on, or some of our clients on, to help them make this work. But it leads to some pretty big impact on your business and on your sales efforts, right? Because again, getting people the same information, looking at it objectively, not looking at it as, well, we did all this stuff, why isn't it working? But just listen, I don't know why it's not working, but it's clearly, here's where it is. We need people that are at 100 points or higher. You're only getting us people that are at 50 points, so we need more. So it makes a big impact, and because again, sales knows all the time when they're talking to the decision maker. And more importantly, they know that they're actually being passed to the decision maker, that that lead that's coming in is an actual decision maker and not just some random person. And again, marketing knows if their content is actually attracting the right people. So, this white paper was hugely successful to marketing, to the marketing people, but it was attracting the wrong people. So they needed to go out and create different content so that they could get the right people in front of them. So, so now let's talk a little bit about automated workflows. These automated workflows, and every CRM platform uses different terminology for a lot of this stuff. So this is our parlance for it. This is our language for it. I'm betting that you'll be able to find this inside of your CRM. If not, then I could probably make a case for the fact that it might be time to switch a CRM, but that's a different conversation. But these automated workflows, and I'm using operations here as I'm using the handoff between sales and operations as an example. But these workflows can, for example, automatically alert the operations team whenever a new deal is closed. So using Mission Suite as an example, whenever we close a new deal, we move it to I move the opportunity into the closed deal 1 phase, and it instantly activates a workflow for me. So that workflow lets my client services manager, Monica, know that, hey, this new deal is closed and you're going to have some work ahead of you, right? You're going to do some things. And then it's going to notify the salesperson that opportunity has closed, right? So those notifications go out so that now we know, as operations or as sales or whoever is leading that charge, knows that we need to kind of build our team and start putting that team together to take it to the next step. It can also create a series of activities that are assigned to various people on that team. So again, if I've got, let's say, again, I'm a CRM company, so I have a client services manager, I have an assistant that does some of the task-based stuff, and then I have the salesperson who needs to know when 30 days has gone by to do a check-in, right? So I can create that series of activities so that to guide them through and make sure that nothing is falling through the cracks. And then if your project management system is built into your CRM, that's an even bigger bonus, right? Because again, if you're talking about operations, then that makes things a lot easier. Hey, this deal closed, put it into the project system, and let's get things spun up, right? And then again, with everybody working inside of the same system, everybody has access to the same system. So if Joe customer ends up calling the salesperson again and says, hey, what's going on with my deal, then they can look at the project management system. It's right there in the CRM, and there's no need to go searching for things. So the impact of automated workflows really boils down to the fact that no one drops the ball, or at least they don't have any excuses as to why they dropped the ball. Because it's important here that they are looking at, we are still working with humans, right? And human error still does occur. Nobody likes it. It's never fun, but with all the talk of AI and artificial intelligence and machine learning and all this other stuff, at the end of the day, a human being more often than not has to be involved in this in some way, shape, or form. So this gives this kind, and our job is to start to eliminate the different kind of, I'm going to use crutches in quotations here as an to say, to basically, our job is to remove the crutches so that they have to stand and walk on their own, right? So it becomes that becomes really valuable. And finally, as I mentioned, unifying your efforts becomes really, really, really important here. So again, I'm a big believer that sales and marketing, and at times operations, if possible, should all be working inside of one system, right? It's there are of course outliers, but it used to be that CRMs were only for sales, right? That a CRM was just for the salespeople, and marketing had their own stuff, right? They had their email marketing platform, their landing page builder, their this, their that, right? And they used all these things to do this, but never the twain should meet, right? Because sales was dealing with the CRM and working on the contacts. Marketing's job was just to start building that awareness. It's not like that anymore, right? And so sales and marketing really should be working inside of one system, if at all possible. So because that way, every time that your sales team looks at a prospect's contact record, they can and they should be able to see exactly what marketing and sales message they've received, right? Whether or not they've engaged with that messaging, right? I mean, I was just having a conversation with somebody earlier today, and we were talking about the fact that I sent one email. I sent emails to promoting our webinar here today, and each email had about a 23-24% read rate, which is really good. Industry average is somewhere around 15 to 17. So I was pretty happy with 23-24% individually. But when I sent out over the course of the past 2 weeks, I sent out 3 different emails, and because I hit those 3 emails, I bumped that number up to 37% of my overall list actually saw and engaged in some way with my messaging, right? So just because they didn't read emails 1 and 2, all of a sudden email 3 they hit on, and people registered for the webinar. And so using that kind of being able to see that kind of information and be able to use that information becomes really valuable when you're dealing with sales or marketing, for that matter, right? They can see what pages that they visited on your website. They can see and get a full account of every interaction with that prospect, whether it's marketing related or sales related. And most importantly, it should all happen natively, right? So integrations can be fantastic. They can be great because, if you have if you have a system over here that you've been working with for decades and you don't want to change, you don't want to move away from it, then you want to be able to integrate with whatever system you're using, right? That's natural, and that's not uncommon. But a native integration, so an email marketing platform that's built inside of the same system as your CRM can become so much more effective, because there are no breakpoints in the system that rely on those integrations, right? And I can't tell you how many times that I have built out an integrator that I long time ago, before I started doing this full time here, before when I would build out an integration between MailChimp and Salesforce, just to use an example that you've probably heard of here, that I've worked with those, and somebody updated the MailChimp password and forgot to update my Zapier integration, and so now all of a sudden anybody who signs up for my email newsletter never goes into my CRM, right? Whereas if all of this stuff is working together, then again, it allows for teamwork. It allows for marketing and sales to be, again, working with the same group of people, working with the same set of information, and it becomes that much more effective. So with that, again, if you have any questions, please, by all means, go ahead and ask and use that Q&A box to ask them. But I want to ask you is that if despite our short time together, I want to know if I've done a good job of giving you some ideas that even if you left the room right now, you'd be able to use to help grow your business. I hope that I have, because I would ultimately like to tell you about Mission Suite. And I'm not going to get all salesy here, and I definitely appreciate that you've watched this the whole webinar and have gotten to know a bit about me and about my business, and about the way that we think of things. And I'm guessing that if you're still here, that that what I've talked about and the system that I'm using to power these things can help you grow your business too, can help you make those numbers. So I just want to take a quick minute here to talk a little bit about what it is. Mission Suite, again, is a super powerful sales and marketing automation software platform. I use it every day of my life. My company uses it all the time, not surprisingly, because it is our company. But we use it all the time, and and as we bring in new salespeople, and as we keep bringing people in, they get to see this, and they get to see how much more effective it is than a lot of what they're using already. So here's what you're getting with Mission Suite. You're getting a powerful CRM that you can use to manage your sales team. You're getting a full marketing platform, email marketing, marketing automation, surveys, events, the whole 9 yards. You're getting inbound marketing tools that will allow you to gather leads from your website. And again, you're getting the automation tools that you need to automate and unify those sales and marketing efforts. What's more, on top of that, you're also getting things like an automated blog digest, which make email marketing a lot more easier, basically, frankly. You get booking calendar capabilities. So, your sales team doesn't necessarily have to keep going back and forth, looking for, trying to find the perfect date and time to meet with their prospects. They can just offer up a booking calendar as well. Event management capabilities, I know I already mentioned. But the important thing, the most powerful aspect of it, from my perspective, and from what a lot of our clients enjoy and appreciate, is the unlimited training and support that they get. So again, with every account, it doesn't matter if you're spending $30 or $300 or $3,000 with us, you get unlimited training and support, as much as you need, because it's in our best interest to make sure that you know how to use this system. So you get that, and it's built, and it's run right upstairs from me in our offices here in downtown Denver. So all of that comes with your account, and of course there's a lot more than that, right? I mentioned project management already. I mentioned, we probably didn't mention things like learning management systems and email library, or I'm sorry, media libraries, and different things like that we have, that you'll have access to with Mission Suite as well. So now let's take a quick look at what some of our clients have said. Phil here from Worthman Consulting, saying that Mission Suite's provided a platform that allows them to capture contact data, respond quickly, and follow up. And really helps them stay in contact with his prospects and clients. I know that you can read, so I don't necessarily need to read it word for word here. But Katie from World Trade Center Denver, this was one of my personal favorites, especially this last sentence here. She never thought that she would say that she loved the CRM, but she loves using Mission Suite, which was great to get from her. And then Jesse from Swiss Tracks, who's been a client for a long time. Experience has been great. The staff, stays on task because they're a sales organization. And then the key thing here that I really appreciate is that Mission Suite paid for itself within the first month or two, which was also just great to hear. It's great to hear that these things are making a big impact on the clients that we're working with. So how much all of this costs, right? I mean, so most CRM platforms out there, they tend to start in the range of $100 per month, and that's typically on the low end. Especially CRMs that do all the automation and can do the scoring and things like that. But they're gonna be $100 a month or so and up, right? But it's per user, which is typically the real killer, right? So that can become pretty expensive, because that may not even include all the features that they offer, right? So you may end up having to spend more on top of what they're offering, or on top of that $100 a month. And next thing you know, it can really get expensive really, really quickly. But we're different, and I'm proud to say that we're different. Our pricing model is not based on a user count, right? So with our system, you can have as many users as you want, and it's not gonna bump your costs up, right? They're gonna keep those it's gonna keep that cost as is until you go above the contact threshold, which is how we do bill. Right. So based on the number of contacts in your account, if you're paying, if you've got 2,500 contacts, or if you've got 50,000 contacts, you're looking at, that's kind of where we're looking at. And 50,000 contacts or more, you end up in a custom pricing model. But this is how our pricing works. We don't do any feature gating. So again, doesn't matter if you're paying $30 a month or $300 a month or more than that, you're going to have the same access to the same suite of tools as you would have regardless, right? I mean, it doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter how much you're paying, you're always going to get full access to our system. And that's really impactful as well. You know, if you think about a sales team that has, that has 10 people or so, in my, just anecdotal experience tells me that that a salesperson, an active salesperson, is probably going to be keeping, maybe 1,000 contacts at any given time. So if you've got 10 people, you're going to be in that $300 to $350 per month range. Whereas if you had 10 people on, 10 salespeople, which means that you would have, 10 salespeople, one sales manager, maybe a VP of sales or a CEO or something, you would end up having 12 to 13 people that need access. Let's call it $100 a month. That's $1,300 a month. Right, so you're going to you're saving a lot of money by shifting to a database model like this. So I just wanted, and I appreciate you letting me take a minute to show you that. But now it's your turn, right? So again, I'm not going to make a hard pitch here. I'm not going to make a hard sell. If you would like more information about Mission Suite, I would love to give it to you. Our website is here, www.themissionsuite.com. You can go there to see plenty more information that's out there. You can go there and register for a demo so that you can see more in depth about how our system works. And and like I said, if you do have more questions, you can reach out to us through our website as well. So meantime, I hope that you've gotten something out of this conversation here today. I do appreciate you joining us today. I really appreciate you sticking around to the end, and I look forward to hopefully talking to you once again soon. And that said, hope you have a great day. Cheers.